Oi, oi. Right, I've got a feeling that I'm live. I'm just going to check on the old Mobley just to make sure that it's working, sound, etc. DC Daryl Carter won't be joining me for this. We've both been busy, you know what he's like anyway, always on the go. So I still wanted to get the video preview out there. I've done written for most of the races. There's three that I need to get tweaked out, so I'm going to try and get that done as well because there was quite a few views of that um, was nice to see. And yeah, I'm just basically going to get this done, this out, running through the selections that I fancy for um, Saturday. I can't get it to work on my phone, so I'm just going to have to hope that it's working. I'm sure the sounds are right. We're just going to roll with it and hope for the best, otherwise I'm whittling for nothing. So what we'll do is I'm going to go through the races that I've already covered. I'm going to skim through those, talk about the horses, but I think it's better if I flip myself to another screen on here, and then we can see what's going on with the racing post. So rather than just looking at my ugly mug, you can have a bit of the racing post in the background as well. So this is my OBS software to stream. When we flick onto this, you should now be seeing the racing post as what's coming up. If I flick onto there, we might see it goes over. And yes, so we're going to skim through the card for tomorrow. So obviously Friday we've had some decent action today. I don't really want to do too much of a review of that. The one in the last obviously got it got backed into favouritism, didn't it? But you know, it was a punt, wasn't it? We're going to have a look at the cards for tomorrow, and then we're going to go through what I think of some of the horses, see what we fancy, see if we can pick up some bets in there. There's the few races that I've been through. There's some nice looking horses in there, and there's a few good chances. It's very early in the season to be getting really bullish for punting. Like I said, I've got a bit of a change of strategy this season, so how I'll be staking and playing is slightly different. But I'll give you what I fancy in the races. I'll give you my honest opinion, and then we can basically go from there. The trappy thing this time round is prices are out from most of the races, whereas when we did the preview before they weren't. I don't want to be influenced by what the prices are. Like if I say something's going to be, should be a falls on shot or something like that, then I want to be able to say it before the bookies price it up so that it maybe emphasises that I'm in the ballpark or I'm not. Obviously, once the prices come out, it's very easy for me to say, oh, this is a big price or this is a short price or I thought it would have been about the right price. So won't whittle too much about that. So first race, Juvenile Hurdle. It's okay in terms of a race. I just want to skim through a few of them, but the way that I look at it it's a small field. I think the quick ground possibly would have put a few runners off, but it was quick ground last year. I think it will suit Rocky Man. He looks to have a good chance. Magistrato, there was the one that I did say that's got the better French form. I think the third in the race has come out and picked up a listed race since. I mean, if I'm showing the race post screen, I might as well show that up. So, like, I think Magistrato is the one to beat. I think if I was going to be talking about prices, I'd probably have him and Rocky Man maybe a touch closer together because Rocky Man is Dr. Dino, like Dr. Dino's the sire, and the quicker ground normally suits those, like So Royals in there for that type of breeding. Not saying this horse for Nichols won't like the ground, but I'd have him a bit closer. So if I was forced to have a free bet in this race, I'd be semi-tempted to bet the Skelton horse, I think. Of the other ones, like there's only five, so I might as well talk about them. Forever Forward, I don't think Peter Bowen, I'm not sure, but I don't know whether he's ever trained a Munir and Suede horse before, but he was a modest flat performer, well held on his first start for the yard, but I think the ground is probably no issue. Yeah, this guy came out and won a listed hurdle after, so you can see the French form looks good. Yeah, so that's the thoughts with the Munir one. Like he was, I don't think he's gonna be a worldie. Nazwa had two hurdle starts. They were at least progressive, so like was improving with each run, but needs a massive step forward again. The only way is Essex has had three flat runs so far for Adam King, only a 67 rated flat horse, which wouldn't be my idea of the winner. So fairly obvious. The market's got it right in terms of the order, I think, but I would probably argue that maybe Rocky Man could afford to be a bit of a short price. Which is not me saying going in and back either of them. I just think that's the way that I maybe see the market going. If we'd have talked about it beforehand, I would have expected Magistrate to be fab, but whether I'd have made him that short odds on, I don't know. Especially given we're only basing it on French form, we don't know how any of them are going to run, but that's the way we go. Then we got the Memorial Handicap Hurdle after. Now this is a proper race. Like there's loads of big names in here anyway. It's one of those that when I started to do my preview, my written stuff, and I've gone through all of them, you'll see I can basically talk about pretty much every horse in this race. I really actually could make a case for almost every runner as I was going through them. So we'll get the odds comparison up just so we can see what the other stuff's doing, just so you've got the visual aid in there. Rather than me going in and picking out every single horse's form as I'm talking about them, I'm just going to talk. But if there's anything I think is relevant for me to pull up on the screen, then obviously I'll do that. So All Mankind, he's got to give £12 to his nearest rival in it. I think he was pretty disappointing last year in that Masterson's hurdle at Cheltenham. That's a 4-year-old hurdle. So there's the 4-year-old juvenile handicap hurdle we had today. There's another race at Cheltenham where some horses may be going there. There is one from today that I'll be interested if they went to Cheltenham, but it's only a couple of weeks away, so it's probably a bit close. I think this looks like just a day out for All Mankind before he takes fences, but obviously he is £10 lower than his official chase rating. He's a year stronger, and he did bolt up round this track, so like he's not just in here for the sake of a run. I don't think like he's got a bit of a chance, but I don't know. It's a big handicap. I say big. 9 runners is big enough, although there's a non-runner. So 8 runners is big enough, but he's going to go quick. We know what he's like going off. He was just so fresh last year. Like I think he's going to need his run. So I think they'll take him seriously and they won't want to let him go clear. Flicker Voyou is a nice horse. Second season novice last year. Easy winner of a novice hurdle here last season. I think they want to go over fences with him this season, or I think they should be going over fences at some point. But he could run well enough off the mark, although I think there's got to be something in here better treated. Highway 102 aborted his chase campaign last season, slipped down to reasonable mark now. I actually think this track will suit him, and I actually think he could run quite well. So Highway 102 was definitely one of the more likely winners to my eye. Masters Legacy beat Polish or Polish, however Fergal wants to say it. That won its handicap hurdle off of 130, so this lad being £2 higher for beating him 3 and a bit lengths, I think it was, means it's definitely probably a workable number. He's had a long break before, 2 runs last season, so he's probably had a more straightforward summer under his belt. He obviously had some runs. I think he'll be winning at some point, and I think he could definitely win off of that mark. You've got to say he's got like a genuine chance in here. I know he's a 16, 18's poke in it. The problem is, does he lack that element of class? And I think probably the answer is yes, he does. But I think he's got a bit of a chance. Galais Macalo for the Williams team. I think he's shown more than a couple of glimpses of like some serious ability, and he's always a well-supported horse, I think. Ground won't be an issue. Last run was at this track, so you think they were probably maybe plotting or at least thinking about this race anyway. So you'd have to think that he's another one that could go well. Scarlet Dragons feels like she's been around, or he's been around forever. Very good dual-purpose horse. Last win came off a £3 higher mark. That was at Market Raisin, I think, in a listed handicap hurdle. Back on this type of ground, you'd have to think the mark looks manageable and could work. Possibly more vulnerable to something that's more up and coming and a bit more improving, but absolutely couldn't rule that one out. And again, it's another one that's a big prize. French Crusader, right? I will peel this one up just for the fact of changing something up. He's a 25s poke with Bet365 if it's right on here. Short's 12s elsewhere. He was behind Epitant in an intermediate hurdle, I think it was. 6 lengths he was beaten. 135 he ran off that day. He's £6 lower now, so he's 129. We obviously know what Epitant went on and did after that. But French Crusader hasn't had that much running. Like that was after a big break. Then he had a big break again before he came back, and I backed him first time up, and he was shit. No other way to say it. Then they stepped him up a bit in trip, and he was pulled up. Wasn't great, but he'd had that big break, and he's had a couple of runs. Like there's a lot of trust going to have to be put on there to say that obviously like probably hasn't been straightforward for him and things like that. But he's definitely physically capable of better than this mark. Obviously, with him not being straightforward to train, like he may have missed, he might not have progressed on his normal like linear curve within it. But he's just too well treated on that piece of form behind Epiton. And I know it's one line of form I'm talking about there more than anything, but I can't believe it's a 25s poke. I'm not saying it's going to win, and I've obviously made a case for a few others as well. I think it just shows it's competitive, but I think it just shows that anything has got a chance of running okay in here. Valentino Dancers, 3 wins from 6 answers joining Fergal. I think the handicap has got him now, which is, again, to say funny. When I'm looking at the prices of some of these horses, I'm making, I think, a more reasonable case for some horses at bigger prices. Yet he's as short as 7-2 poke. Not for me. Rest and be thankful. 2 wins last spring, had a wind up over the summer, which makes me think they're taking his race seriously. Another one that could be better than his mark. So I think they're trying, basically. So yeah, I would probably, All Mankind and Flicker Voyou, I'd be tempted to go away from those two in the market. Rest and be thankful, I think, has got a chance. So of the ones towards the head of the market, he's probably the most likely of those four, I think, to maybe even get backed and go off Fav. Who knows? Galias Macalo could run well, and I think they're trying in this race the same as I think they're trying with Rest and Be Thankful. Highway 102, I give an actual genuine chance to. Scarlet Dragon could run well. French Crusader could definitely run well, and I think Masters Legacy got the potential to run well as well. So it's a wide open race. Be a good one to watch. There'll be some other handicap winners out of this race as well, so it'll be a good one to watch for form going forward, I think. The 225 is a really nice handicap chase, Native River handicap chase, Class 2, and there's some proper horses in here as well. It'll be interesting to see how the field ends up. And obviously now I'm looking, this is my first glance at what the prices are. I'm just having a little bit of a skim through, but we'll see as we go through. So I'm gonna literally mention every horse again. Mr. Malarkey, like he's a proper horse, isn't he? This is his trip. This is his ground. I think he can run close off of his mark. But I think he's always needed his run when he's taken a longer break. So I think he's run well off for a break before, but I think when he takes a longer break, he normally needs it. The only time he did win after a break was in a handicap chase, but that was off a £30 lower mark than he finds himself now. So I like Mr. Malarkey, but I think maybe he improves with his runs each season. Real Steel, there's been something bandied about with this horse for a while now that he's better right-handed, and I don't think that's true. He ran an absolute corker in the Gold Cup. I pitched him up as a lively outsider, and he was a big prize. I think a few people thought he could run well, and he did travel really nicely behind Albon, but obviously that's a real test of stamina. There's no doubt this horse is talented, but we all know that he's also very inconsistent. So you can't really trust him, especially from like a betting perspective. It's fresh here from a win dot, but it's not unusual for Nichols to do it. He's got a great record when he is fresh, to be fair, and I think he's very, very much capable of running better than his mark is now. So I think Real Steel's got a proper chance, but would you trust him? Probably not. Truckers Lodge will want more of a test. Midlands National winner off a one in 2020 off an £11 lower mark, so I just don't think this will be enough of a test for him. Brave Eagle for Henderson. The track trip and ground will suit, but it's been such a long time since he's shown any enthusiasm, I couldn't be interested. Accelerator Express, right, there's a fav here. He's up £28 since the start of the year. He was impressive the last day, and that was the first time when he tried this sort of trip. I would be concerned that the handicap has him held now, but obviously he's coming in tremendous form. But like I'd probably want to be away. FedEx has a big weight pool now with Accelerator Express, and you see how big a price FedEx is. Looks just a typical summer horse though, and I think maybe picked up a weak handicap. And those summer horses that I'm referring to, I just think they beat other summer horses. So I think the form looks better than it really is, to be honest with you. Kitty's like 4 from 7 over fences. The run at Sand at the end of the season looked like the 5-year-old could still be progressing a lot more. It is a big ask, but I can see a big run in there, to be honest with you. But again, very well found in the market. But it put me off. The Mighty Don beaten Rillo here last year in the Novices Chase was the worst jumper and traveller of all of that entire field. So that worries me, the jumping and the travelling in this big handicap. But he rallied really well to win nicely. He's had some reasonable efforts since. He obviously likes it here because he handled it and did it. But I just think others might be off of better marks, is the way that I pitched him. Fullback is a horse that, oh my word, fuming. Like I'm still fuming about the fact that Gary Moore didn't run him in a handicap following his first chase debut at Fontwell, right? Like I'll peel this up on the screen because you can tell it annoys me. I like this horse as well. So he ran at Fontwell right against Cool Anley. It looks like a nice enough novice chase. I know we've got IK Brunel in there. Mason Jar was in there. It looks an okay race, to be honest with you. And I like fullback, and I thought, I think he's a much better horse than this. And as soon as they were staying over fences, I thought this is a chance to run well. And you can see he's run off a level weights with these guys. 135 rated Cool Anley, 140 rated IK Brunel. Like they're obviously different now, but he was 4 lengths behind those. He was rated 125 at the time. So as far as I'm concerned, he's like I genuinely thought he was probably the best part of a stone well in. Then they stick him to a Mickey Mouse novice chase where he ran against AC Milan, and AC Milan was just not good enough. But again, that shows that I think the fullback was well ahead of his mark. But he could have picked up a handicap chase there for us, couldn't he? Anyway, he's gone to 137. Then they're trying some bigger races, and he was just pants in I think that's the Reynoldstown at Ascot he ran in. Just pants there, to be honest with you. Had a bit of a break, then came for a novice chase at Fontwell, but wasn't particularly great there either. But the vet reported that he was lame after that race. So I think this horse has got more to come. I think this horse is better than 140. I like him. I think he's a nice horse. Maybe off of the break like there when he ran his maiden hurdle, and then obviously that in that novice chase. Like it was a good run in that novice chase, but I just don't know whether they'll be really trying with him First time up. I think he might want a little bit of give in the ground as well, but he has got form on good. I want to see how well he runs today because this horse will definitely be running races this season. So, like, I haven't got horses to follow this, but this is the sort of horse that would be one that I'd have penciled in as a horse that, like, stay on the right side of him. They're going to sort a handicap out of him. Irish Prophecy, a couple of spins over the summer, and they look to be progressive as well. So, stepping forward with each of those runs. This is a much classier race. So, although I think he's trying, I don't think he's good enough. Captain Ord, last win came last November off a £15 lower mark. He's run okay since, bumped into a couple. Always looks like he needs his first runs, that's a worry. But I know Christian Williams thinks he's got a chance, so wouldn't be backing him at the price that he is, but you could see him probably running well. Scirocco Vallis was well beaten here in April and was stepped up to about this trip, which didn't seem to help much. As a novice, he was held in reasonable regard, but he's a 9-year-old now and he looks quite exposed, so you can see why he's the rag. Court Master's one that I do like. He just creeps in. Oh, he's 12, so better for his 5. Just creeps in at the bottom. He's lightly raced for his age. Martin looks manageable. He goes well fresh, so there's lots to like about him. Cobra Demise is an interesting one because you can't really expect any improvement having left the Skeltons. No disrespect to the trainer. But he's 128 rated. It's just too hard to ignore. Would have come on for that run last month. I think he'll be spot on for this race. Bridget hasn't won on this horse, but she obviously knows him well enough. I wouldn't be able to back him, but it wouldn't surprise me if he went well. So that's another one to mention. Sorry for my ignorance here. While I'm doing this, like, I'm not punting properly this year, and I say properly, like, I'm not getting stuck into too many horses. There's price reasons and other bits like that. But I'm going to stick a few like block doubles in and on and around. And given what I've just said about prices of Courtmaster, he opened 16s as well. I just got to put him in. Basically, is the long and short of it. Just got to put him in. Oh, mate, this must be unreal viewing. But anyway, we can move on to the 3 o'clock. And I think this is the last of the races that I've written. But it's a beauty, absolute beauty. So 2.5 mile novices chase. Obviously, what's his face? The horse with the big future. Brave Man's Game was potentially going to come here, but he's now running on Sunday at Newton Abbot. He gets like best part of a stone from Fuser Raffles. It's an intermediate chase that he's running in, so he's going against horses that have got experience. But I think it shows a statement of like Paul Nicholls' intent. And let's check we're still going. And yeah, like that'll be a cracking race. But anywho, it's being nibbled as well. This one, I'm good at him. I think it wins. So this is a real, like, I'm just going to skim through it a little bit, but basically this is the time of year when novices come out, and you've got summer novices, and then you've got novices that will progress as the season goes on potentially. So some of them have got some experience, some of them haven't. Captain Tomcat peeled out sequence over the summer, over like last summer over fences, but he did the same over hurdles before. I think he did win in October in the end. I think the track will suit. He's got more expense than others over fences. I think he can run somewhere near his official rating. So like Captain Tomcat, like I could see he go okay, but these summer jumpers, especially the way that these horses have run, like he did a lot of his running from the front. Fidelio Vallis won 4 of his starts. Each of those were not under Harry Cobden, but he's now back on, so it's not a negative. He rode him on his chase debut. He was well beaten. The trip will be okay, but it might stretch him slightly, but the ground's fine. He didn't run here great as a novice hurdler, but you could make excuses potentially for that day. You could say ground, you could say there was a small break, you could say he was beating favourite prior, you could say he raced enthusiastically. Few negatives that would potentially be in there for him, but my biggest concern is that him and Captain Tomcat are going to want to go. The other one that's going to want to do the same is Present and Counting, so I'm doing this in a slightly different order. Another summer jumper, won 4 in a row. It was beating favourite Aintree in June, which was a better class of race. Like, you can see him trying to go off in the front and try and win it from there, but I think Tomcat and Vallis will do that as well. I think those 3 are going to ruin each other, and considering that they're most prominent in the betting, I reckon there's something else to be backing in here. Grumpy Charlie, right, makes his chase debut here, and although he's raced mostly on slow ground, he won his point on good ground, so that doesn't bother me. He's been pitched into some like reasonable company over hurdles. He's free from free round here. His last win of those was off 132 over hurdles, but I think he looked okay for the £9 rise. Like, I still don't think that's out of his reach. He's the right sort of type of horse I think can go well here, especially with those ones going off. So I think he could stalk the pack if he jumps well. I think the step up and trip will suit him too. Like, I think Grumpy Charlie's got a chance. Kilteely Briggs is a horse I've loved for a long time. I think he had colic not this summer gone, the year before. I think he spent some time at AP McCoy's. So you just draw a line through last season. He's got some chase experience, so that's going to help him. Um, he's probably capable of winning a race like this, and I do like him. He's obviously a massive price, but he just doesn't win enough, and I think he's going to be vulnerable to something else in here. T-Clip is the one that ticks so many of the boxes that he's the one that I would land on here. He was a good winner of the Silver Trophy here last year, like he was better value than the bare result looks. He's yet to jump a fence in public, but it's Tom Lacey. Sophie Lacey had him for, or ran under her name in points, so he's been jumping for a while anyway, so fences will be fine. They're not a problem in the slightest. Pretty good effort in the Coral Cup as well at Cheltenham, and they got Rachel Blackmore on at Aintree, so they must have thought a lot about him, and that was 142, I think his mark is. I think he could get higher than that this season. Plenty of pace in the race, so that will suit him. He's just going to sit in behind, I think, and I reckon he's got a proper chance. So T Clipper would be one that, again, I'm not getting excited to do it, but I'm very keen to take on Fidelio Vallis, Captain Tomcat, and President Encounter in here. So it's the way I see that race. And now we're going to start peeling off some races that I haven't written about. So basically, I'm going into these pretty much blind. Yeah, pretty much blind we're going into this, and then we'll see how it goes. So this one I'll probably be maybe a little bit quieter when I'm in it, because what I'm going to have to do is go through the horses. Like, it's a big old field, isn't it? There's horses down the bottom as well. Like, did they leave out two on quicker ground? How has he never reached the heights that he should have done? So we're going to come away from this particular view. I'm going to skip myself back to the card. I think a few of you quite like it. When I do this, when I go through a card, so you can see my thought process and stuff. I don't want to drag this out for too long. Like, I want to get it ideally finished by 7, just for taking the dog out and having a life. But also, I don't want to just keep pestering on about horses and going into bits and pieces, maybe too much that maybe doesn't need to be done. I typically will go through them in race cast order. So we'll pick up Prashima first. Always go to look at, I say, conditions of the race. Like, some of it doesn't matter when it comes to handicaps, but I just want to have a look at what the mark is for the trip, and just to see what they're saying for ground and stuff. Like, I'll look at turf tracks to see official stuff. I'll find out some interviews today from comments from jockeys, etc., to find out what they're saying about the ground. But just want to have a little look at it, know where we are, and then we're going to peel for each of the runners. So I'll peel this up here, and then I'll just select to move down to the next horses. It's good with racing post, because I like my little one-liners that I put with horses, although I tend to waffle and say more. It's good when they see these bits here, but again, I try and look at the cards before anything's in there, because I don't want to be influenced by somebody else's opinion. 6-year-old, you can see there he's got some spins over hurdles, got a few wins, and then we're just peeling ourselves down a little bit here. So what's the 142 now? His last win was 140. That was at Aintree. We can remember that. There was quite a few, I think, that ran well there that had like a bit of a chance towards the end. We've got some Chepstow form there. He was behind all the gin joints as a novice hurdler. That was quite a nice race. There was three of them in a bit of a line there, but we could see Flicker Voyou won obviously at the meeting last year, but the year before almost won, so he almost lost his novice status. Like, he's a nice horse, isn't he? And obviously he did win off that mark. He's only a couple of pounds higher. The ground will suit. Like, he's definitely got a chance, hasn't he? Not really much more I think I could say about him. He's well found and clearly got a chance. Black Mischief for Harry Fry, 139's chase, 139's hurdle, 139's chase. This is just the way I'm doing it. I was coming down to look at the ratings. Then obviously, as soon as you look at the official rating there, you can sort of, well, we know that it was first in here, but you can sort of get a feel for where the numbers are at. And then I typically will look here. I'm looking at the class of race they're running. I'm looking at the ground. I'm looking at trip, but I'm also looking at the tracks they've run at. So I just have a quick skim through all those things. And then when you see something like this, Chepstow, beginning of the season, the sort of class race they've expected him to go well in, and then not really won particularly well. But then you want to look at the form after that. But if he's had an off day there and he's been bad after, then you can forgive him a little bit. Then you want to see where they maybe did pick up a bit of form. And you can see there's lots of runs where he's in and out, but he's obviously got that run behind Prashima there. Now, when you think Prashima's £2 higher, and this horse now, after going to win at Newton Abbot, which would have been a weak enough track of a place to go and win, and he's £3 worse off with Prashima, couldn't have him, could you? 12 to 1 poke. Get out. Hooper, nice horse. Look, he's four wins from 8 runs in 3 seconds over hurdles. What a boy. 139 rated. I'm just looking at some recent stuff there. So Interesting within the chase runs, isn't it? And then they've come back from fences now to running the handicap hurdle. God, that can't be by design, surely. Hmm. Like he is a nice horse. Like I wouldn't say he's got no chance. I'd be struggling to make a case to back him. Um, curious, curious. Anywho, Chapman's height for Jamie Snowden. Again, looking at the marks, 137. We see obviously there when you got a couple of bits, hurdling and chasing. See when they did that stuff. So there he's got another chasing over the summer. You can see that he's won, got beaten when he should have won, and then gone poor. You can see then they've dropped him back over hurdles to maybe see something about him. The beauty of him running in those novice chases is though that he's managed to lower his mark a little bit, and then from his handicap hurdle after that getting battered, he's got his mark pretty much down again. Then he's run at Worcester, and maybe started to get a bit more confidence in around him. I wouldn't think he's up to it personally. Um, that's as much as I want to say, but like wouldn't be an utter shock winner, but wouldn't be for me. Ahmed Anoui for Paul Nicholls. He is always a horse that I know they want quick ground with him, and I've definitely backed him a couple of times at Cheltenham. He made are there non-runner info on here? Maybe he's one non-runner at Cheltenham. Yeah, I think it was maybe it there. I might back him. Anywho, I know that he wants decent ground. I know he's quite inconsistent. 137 is his mark now, and if I'm just having a peel down to get a feel for where he was winning and what he went up to, um, like he could get in and around him, couldn't he, off this sort of mark? But probably held for win purposes. I reckon he'll run well personally. So I give him a bit of a squeak, but I just don't think he'd be a winner. Mount Windsor for Chris Gordon. See there, 4 wins in a row. Back end of last season, picked up a bit of a streak. Then right at the end of the season, when he goes into the handicap at Newbury, which is a better class, pretty well, pretty well beaten. The late good ball as well. It's such a shame he passed over the summer. At least that's what I've been told. Anywho, can't win. Too high a mark now. Gull Road, he's a horse I definitely think's got more to come from him. Twiston Davis, I backed Ballyoptic to win the Silver Trophy. I did have T Clipper last year, but like that's the last serious bet I had in the Silver Trophy and did a right out of it. Another bit of form there with the late good ball, and look how much weight he was giving away to him there to go and do it. Gunsight Ridge as well was well regarded. Bear Grylls is reasonable form there. I know he was pants at Cheltenham, but you can rule that out. And obviously the cheap pieces may have been the reason why he ran support. But 136, I think he can run really well. Um, he'd be definitely firmly on the shortlist. So Gal Road, I think, has got a good chance. To be fair, maybe ground is going to be quick enough for him. We'll see. Champagne Well for Fergalbin, grand old servant. I remember when he won a race at Cheltenham, or was given a race at Cheltenham, that was then taken away. I think this is the guy. Is it? Or have I just made that up? May have made that up. What is the scale? Oh, was it Prashima that had that take? That Prashima ran against a horse, didn't he? And then lost the race, and then got it back after because they ruled him out for no reason. Sorry to do all this to you guys, and just to go back. Maybe it wasn't. I've lost the plot. Someone will remember it. There was a race where Skelton won and got told off by the stewards for moving across, and he didn't even move across. And then Fergal was given the race on the course, but then they reversed it after because it was bullshit decision. Anywho, Champagne Well won over fences, wasn't really very good. Back over hurdles, but the fact that he's gone over fences means that he's brought down his hurdle mark. You've got bits of form here behind Time Hill. You've like 136 is definitely lenient enough for him to run well. Obviously, the chase run's a worry because you don't know what sort of form he's in, but I reckon this horse has got a chance. He's a big price as well. I know they're saying about like he may want a stiffer test of stamina, and that possibly could be the case. But when they're going quick in these types of races, I think he might be okay. So he's one I could see running all right. Torrigini for Harry Whittington and Minear. Minear and Suede are just sending them everywhere, aren't they? Doesn't do a lot for me. Like Kadzan's a really nice horse, and there's a few that are running behind him that I think are going to turn into nice horses. I don't think he's good enough. I'm not interested, to be honest with you. Black Steer Rocco for Emmett. I do like him. He's not being sent over just for the sake of it, is he? Kevin Brogan booked as well. Let's have a little bit of a look. Good run at Galway in the summer. Like ground will suit him to a T, wouldn't it? What like we all with the Irish horses, we know how much they get a rise when they come over. Like 128 for his hurdle rating isn't very harsh, is it? Doesn't win very often, but But I don't know because he won that off a 95, but he's absolutely battered up. Blackstare Rocco's got a chance. And like I say, Emmett's not coming over here for the fun of it, is he? Jacomar, nope. The Rails Piergi was with Sullivan Blackstock before when he thought he was an okay horse, to be honest with you. I don't really know what's gone up with him, what the issues have been, what the plans will be with him going forwards. Very difficult to know what sort of mark he should actually be on. You go back to some of these races here, and the horses that, although he's like won like races quite nicely, hasn't really beaten a great deal. Ground could probably suit. Probably a bit of a like I know he's been sold, but probably too big a price at 40s. He's the sort of one that I'd like to look at on the exchanges before the off and maybe have a tenner on before the race because I think I could trade for 10 points shorter in running. Stuart Edmonds. Oh, he had one today, didn't he? I think it was Megan that I think would have run well if she hadn't have fallen. He's doing well. I do like a bit of Stuart Edmonds horses. Um, yeah. Skimming down again, just going with the usual stuff, official rating, seeing where the horses move from. Like it's nice to see when these numbers are quite close and when you see reasonable positions in there. That's a solid run behind Edwardstone as well. Beat Time White. Interesting one you are. Because that there like potentially is a poor run, but you look back at there after a break, needed it, even after the wind surgery, which wasn't a break but needed the run. Break. Fell heavily, but was running okay. So just thinking maybe like that's a run to put him on for this, isn't it? He's got to have a chance. Roland Ward's going in and around the shortlist. So many runners. Sorry, I know this is probably very tedious to watch, but hey, hey. Orby's Lesson for Hobbs. He had the 1-2 in the Persian War, didn't he? The worst Persian War. Difficult to know, like really, how good this opening mark could be for him. I know it's a race that he quite likes to send one to. I backed one of his. Was it last year or a couple of years ago? I can't remember the name of him. I mean, didn't run that great to be fair. So for me here now to try and get a bit of a feel for the mark that he's got, I tend to go back to their earlier races and then expect that some of these maybe have got marks now, just to give me a bit of a feel for where they might be. So he's obviously gone out and won a bumper again. Mr. Glass for Paul Nicholls was behind. There's one since, you can see, twice since. But we don't know from an official rating perspective how good those performances are. Fletch was supposed to be a good horse, wasn't he? Becky the Boo, I'm pretty sure that's flopped since, isn't it? Yeah, big wide margin loss, but did go and win the time after. Looks like that on its own looks like an okay race at Newbury. That was on good ground. And then we're going to have a little peer and see what's gone on with some of these before. The Brass Man, 125 rated. And funnily enough, he's run behind. Or did he get a mark after that run? I'm just thinking if he ran by him again, he didn't. Look at that, not far behind 300 through 5 either. Like this Orby's Legend looks alright off this mark, doesn't he? Hmm. And that wouldn't have been far off one of Richard Johnson's last rides, you know. Look, Hale's Arkle's in there. Tell you what, I'd say this guy's got a proper chance, you know. Interesting one. Again, there's not a great deal to get stuck into or go for, but Orby's Legend would firmly be on the shortlist for this chance, I think. So Armand and Nui, I think I mentioned, probably at a price, could run okay, but it's not going to be winning it. Gal Road, I think, will run pretty well, I think, to be honest with you. Champagne, well, I said, could probably go okay. Blackstone Records not being sent over for no reason. Durrell's Piaget is too big, might be one of those in running any bits. You can see Ronan Ward running okay. Orby's Legend so far would probably be close to my main fancy in here. But again, I'm talking about a race where there's lots of runners and I'm making cases for quite a few of them. Tom Lacey obviously won the race last year with T Clipper for Jerry Hines and Ashley Head. And like I'm looking at skimming through the names, like the names don't really do a lot for me for the horses he's beaten. Look at the prices he's been as well. They obviously think he's got a bid, don't they? Like I think like clearly he's got to be of interest at that sort of price. Did they leave you out too? How low? He's off 129 for Quiet Loud. I know it's a long way back, but battering horses like this Billionaire back there. Remember this Ascot Hurdle as well. Like he's a horse, isn't he? And I think he. Like, the thing is, like I know back then. I mean, some of these performances are on good ground, but I think he really does need quickish ground. Wins his handicap there on good to firm. So I think like these days, like the quicker the better for him. Like I give him a chance. Going okay 3 out there at Chepstow in this, wasn't it? No. But going well at Chepstow there, look, finish lame. 3-1 fab off 130. I mean, he's only a quid shorter now, but he's too big a price. I think I want a bit of him as well. But again, like I said, like I wouldn't be block betting all of these types of horses, but it's an interesting one. It's an exciting race to watch, isn't it? How about this guy? Don't know much about him, to be fair. Triple winner. I mean, there's summer jumps, isn't they? I thought Tinahalla was going to run well today, as well, and didn't transpire. So for that reason, you're out. And then this, for the Brooks, the prices 11 to 8, 8 to 11, 2 to 11, 2 to 9. Now it's with Paul. For handicap debut as well. Right, how are we going to get a handle on this horse for a mark, given that he's just battered a load of horses? So we'll go for the closest distance to see if that helps. And see, we were 121, we could see there was the mark for this. And that's dropped down. It's not really helpful, is it? It's dropped down since, and then it's gone up. Like that had to go down to 110 to win. Yeah. Like it's different horses, isn't it? And there's been, like it's going to improve within Commander Nichols. I wouldn't be so keen on that at a short price. Like could run well, but not having it. So I think we've gone through that race for far too long enough. I'm basically up to 7 o'clock now, and there's 2 more races to skim through. Orby's Legend, I think it's got a proper chance. I think did they leave you out too big? Glory and Honour, like again one of those that you could make a bit of a case for. Durrell's Piaget, like I'd definitely try the in run any bit on there. Wouldn't have any confidence to really fancy one in there, but at least you got my thoughts anyway, whether you wanted them or you didn't. What we got here? Handicap chase. So I think like just for time wise and the fact that it's gone, like I know people would like prefer me to go through races and prefer to look at things properly, but I'm going to maybe skim through this a little bit quicker. Not necessarily the greatest way to do it because you might miss something, you might miss one that's in there, but we've had a bit of money coming in for a few. The good thing is as well, with a horse like this, I know that Grand Sancy is one that I think is much better than this mark. We know that he runs here particularly well, won at the meeting last year, and like me and Darryl had a good bet on him there. We did the Chepstow live, didn't we? But like we thought he was real good value in there. I can't remember who he was matched in against. Yeah, Longhouse Sale. But yeah, we liked Grand Sancy, and it was the difference between a summer jumper going against a proper horse. We know he's a proper horse. I like him. 142 over fences is way too low. You can see why they fancy him. I know you've got to forgive those, and I know Nichols just gives everything wind surgery. But I quite like Grand Sancy, and you can see why he's being supported. It's probably too short to get involved anyway. Interesting that Carl Hinch has changed a lot of his horses to Christian Williams. I don't know exactly what the plans are of this horse. I think he did put something on his Twitter feed about it, but he's a nice horse. Progressed a lot, didn't he? I wonder whether they're going to just not mess about him, but they're going to do a few bits and maybe think about the spring with him. I don't know. Nice horse though. Nice horse. I'm not even going to bother skimming through some of the other ones. I could find something else in it that I think could run well, but like if Grand Sancy runs up to form, then he's potentially a stone well in. Like he's a 150s horse for definite. So Grand Sancy, I would think, would win that race, but I don't think I'll be putting any money on at that sort of price. But obviously, with your place pools, etc., you could bank for him last leg, or maybe you could take a punt, couldn't you, and try and see if you can get him beat. Oh yeah, do you know what? I did quickly look at this bumper, and like, what's the point? One that was interesting was West Orchard is a half brother to Earth Mover, is it? Earth Business that ran today in the novice hurdle. So I was interested to see how that horse ran in terms of bits of form going in, but you can see he was shit as expected. So this horse probably be equally as shit. No offence. I don't think there was anything that I picked out that looked really interesting in there. Like with these unraced bumper horses, the first thing I'll go and look at is the dam, and then see if there's any particular siblings in there. And if there's not, I go to the grand dam, and then just see if they've got any uncles or unkies that are half decent. You can see this has come from an okay sort of background, better over the middleish tricks, which is okay for bumper horses. You like to see those things. But then when you get a horse that has one, I like to go and have a little look to see how they fared in the bumpers. Should they run on any? And no for that. And then we'll have a look at this chap and see. One bumper first time up. And again, that's not to say that's the be all and end all for it, but you just like, I'm trying to get a bit of a feel of whether I think this one could be okay. Okay, but I mean, Colin Tizzer doesn't have very many bumper winners, does he? I know Q Card obviously won the champion bumper, but I think Lair Devant was his last bumper winner of note recently, and then he was obviously poor after. But it's time for a tune for Paul Nicholls and Mr. Carbden. I'm interested to look at this one because I did look at the race purchased by Hales after this win, but you go to the second horse and then goes and gets battered after, and the fact that it left Ben Paulin after that run and it was Sophie Paulin, his wife's name, like it was their horse, it makes me wonder, like, if there was something wrong with this horse or he really underperformed, and that's the reason why this one looks so good. And obviously he won in his own right. He won by miles and he was eased, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that I'd want to lay him, but I wouldn't be so sure that he is as much of a sure thing as he looks. Like those change of stables, yes, it's a positive to go to Nicholls, and yes, it's a positive that he's been purchased for loads of money. But if the horse in behind has then been sold off the back of one defeat, I think maybe it begs the question of really what did he beat? Well, I wouldn't be wanting to be on that. I wouldn't be wanting to bet in the race, but yeah, that's definitely way too short. So that's pretty much the summary of everything. So I'm going to sign off now and just get back to live, take the dog for a walk, sort some dinner, and then maybe have a look at doing some Colossus place balls. Yeah, let me know if you fancy anything in the comments below. Let me know because if you watched the race today, if there's anything that really caught your eye or anything that you think I may have missed. Unfortunately, I was swamped with actual work today, so got to catch up on a lot of the racing. I want to see how Does He Know ran because like he's always been a better horse over fences, and the fact that he seems to have won quite nicely, I want to watch that back because there's always a few horses at this meeting you want to take out of it. So yeah, we'll leave it as that. But be lucky, everybody. Next thing that I'll be doing will be for the October meeting. I'm tempted with that rather than doing previews. I'm actually at the races on the Friday, meeting Matt there. So I'll do something from the racecourse, I think, or from a pub in the town. So I'll probably do a live stream, talk through the races with him quickly. He doesn't know that, but I'll get him on camera anyway. And Max Bet will be on there. Go on, the Max Bet. So that's it. Yeah, thanks again for your support, guys. Comments and all that sort of stuff if you want to stick them in there. If not, don't bother. I don't blame. This has been a pretty poor episode, but the written stuff I'll put up for the races that I've written. I'm not going to do the last three races. I've obviously whittled through one of the races long term on here. This penultimate race I've not even looked into any depth, and I've already given my thoughts on the bumper. So I'm not just going to do them for the sake of doing them. I can't be asked basically. But I'll put the ones up that I have written. I'll put a link somewhere on here, and then yeah, I'll see you guys on the other side. Thank you.